All right, welcome back to the channel. My name is Coach Jordan Hardgrave. So today I've got an email here. This person is obsessed with their breathing. They've developed a breathing phobia, which has actually evolved into depersonalization, which happens at the point of overwhelming stress in the nervous system. And so, what started as just kind of stress over their breathing has started to have a very profound effect on their nervous system. So, if that's you, if you're somebody that is constantly obsessed with your breathing, you're constantly checking your breathing, you're worried that your breathing is going to stop if you don't manually breathe. I literally went through this myself. I would constantly do an intentional breath because I had this fear that if I didn't do that, my breathing was going to stop. I also would constantly check my heartbeat, and I had this fear that my heart was going to stop. But I not only want to read this email and kind of show you this person who's dealing with that so you can resonate with this, not feel alone, but I also want to give you 3 things that you can do to actually reverse this, things that I had to do and things that I teach my clients as well. So let's go ahead and get to this. Smash the like if you are ready to crush this breathing phobia. And let me go ahead and get right to the email. So they said, "Hey, Jordan, this started in such a stupid small way that I keep telling myself it shouldn't have turned into all of this. I was sitting in class when I suddenly got this feeling like I couldn't breathe properly. And that sometimes happens because you're getting shortness of breath because your body is very, very anxious. It kind of feels like suddenly you can't breathe because your breathing is speeding up to prepare your body for fight or flight response. But if you don't really know what's happening, you can start to feel like, hey, maybe I need to fix this in some way. Maybe I need to monitor this just in case my breathing stops working. Not like I was choking, just this weird awareness that my breathing felt off. My chest felt tight and I panicked. Once the panic hit, all I could focus on was my breathing, in and out, in and out. It felt like if I stopped paying attention, I'd stop breathing altogether. So there's something technically called traumagenesis, which is where you have a very painful experience coupled with neuroplasticity, which is our brain's ability to learn and reprogram, equals, in this case, a somatic trigger. Okay, there's also sensory triggers, which is where your brain associates the sensory data around you with threat because of some painful experience. But whenever you are experiencing something painful in your own body, even if it's safe, even if it's just fight or flight response, your brain starts to condition to associate that with threat. So if you resist your heartbeat, if you resist your breathing, if you're obsessing over it and stressing over it, there's literally a pairing of threat association with these very safe experiences. But that's very problematic in this case because you breathe all day long. Your heartbeat is going all day long. And so, especially if you check in all the time when you're breathing, every time that you do that, you're going to access this conditioned association of threat because of your history of resistance and stress about your breathing. And so it just becomes a vicious cycle for sure. After that day, I've never breathed the same again. At least that's what it feels like. I became hyper aware of every breath that I take. Walking to class, sitting at home, trying to fall asleep, it's always there. I notice my lungs filling, my chest moving, the air going through my nose. It doesn't happen automatically anymore. Yes, it does. Okay, and stick around until the very end because I'm going to give you 3 tips that are going to help reverse this. But that's one of the things, not to skip ahead, spoiler alert, but you have to accept and remind yourself of this over and over again. Okay, it's not just a one-time thing. Our breathing is the byproduct of our autonomic nervous system, also called our automatic nervous system, meaning this is an automatic autonomous bodily process that will work whether or not we're consciously aware of it, whether or not we're monitoring it. Same with our heart rate. And it's not something that we need to directly control or try to worry about. Okay. And so you're trying to step into the driver's seat whenever this is not your job to focus on things that are automatic. Oh, you put, or at least my brain doesn't let it feel automatic. See, that's the disparity there. Is it is automatic, but your brain is making you believe that if I don't check in on this, if I don't manually breathe, my breathing is going to stop. the more I noticed it, the more anxious I got, and then everything else started to feel wrong too. So this is the point where they started to get so stressed about their breathing that it started to really escalate their nervous system into the point of overwhelming stress, which is what causes depersonalization. You feel out of body, everything feels fake and dreamlike. It's actually a shutdown of the brain structures that are responsible for you feeling connected to your body, self, and environment. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score book, calls it the mohawk of self-awareness. So kind of resembles a mohawk haircut, kind of goes from ear to ear. And when these brain structures are not online, you're going to feel out of body. You may look at your hands and it feels like you're literally a separate entity from your body. It almost feels like you're watching your body kind of just from just outside of yourself and a little bit to the left, almost watching your body through the back of your head. And then also everything can feel fake and dreamlike. This is derealization. It's whenever it literally feels like you're living in a movie. Feels like you're living in a dream. It feels like there's a wall of glass between you and reality. And this is really your brain creating a buffer to shield you from what your nervous system thinks is a lion that's about to eat you. Okay, they're really trauma coping mechanisms, trauma being a state of overwhelming stress. And if you're going to be eaten by a lion, you might as well not feel it. That's really the purpose of depersonalization, realization. But if you don't know that, you freak out. So now this person is freaking out about their breathing, and then they started to get so stressed out that it escalated into depersonalization, realization. I'm sure that brought just tons of panic. And do you see how not having proper education about the symptoms of fight, flight, freeze response creates resistance, which conditions the brain through neuroplasticity to associate the safe symptoms of fight, flight, freeze with a threat, which ironically produces more fight, flight, freeze symptoms every time that you experience the fight, flight, freeze symptoms. So it's just this vicious cycle. And one of the ways that we're going to fix this is getting the right education. We also need to directly get the body out of fight, flight, freeze, but we need to do something called cognitive restructuring, which is where you take a 21st century understanding of how your nervous system works, and you start to renew your mind to that. It helps to start detach. It helps to detach fear and resistance from symptoms. Okay, and so every time your brain is trying to tell you, "Hey, it's my job to monitor my breathing, or it's going to stop," or "Hey, DPDR are dangerous," or they represent that I'm going crazy, you need to calm yourself and say, "Hey, it's just fight, flight, freeze." Okay, everything is normal that I'm going through. So, with that being said, let's continue. They said, sometimes I try to force myself to breathe deeper just to feel some relief, but then I get scared on making it worse. Yeah, especially if you're doing chest breathing, which we're going to go over this here in just a minute. But whenever you breathe, which again, I keep spoiling it, we're going to get to this in the end. But if your shoulders are going up and your chest is primarily going out, you're chest breathing, and you're not getting enough oxygen, which will make you feel very, very stressed if you don't feel like you're getting a deep enough breath, especially if you think it's your job to manually breathe in order to prevent yourself from stop breathing, even though that's not true. We need to teach you how to breathe through your diaphragm, okay, which is something that I do with every single client. I've got something called breathing school. I'm going to go over that with you here in just a minute. But yeah, not only are you making things more stressful if you're doing a chest breath, but every time that you check in and you manually breathe, you're signaling to your brain that breathing is dangerous, okay? And so we really, really have to break that habit. So let's continue. I also keep asking people if this sounds normal, if they've ever felt this way, just trying to get reassurance that I didn't break something. Every answer helps for a minute, and then my mind finds another question. Yeah, I mean, if you find somebody who's dealt with a breathing phobia before, of course, that's going to give a little bit of reassurance, which is not a bad thing, but it's not dealing with the root issue, which is that you've conditioned your brain to associate breathing with threat. It's not dealing with if you are breathing through your chest instead of your diaphragm. So I'm not against reassurance, but it's not a long-term strategy. I don't avoid score life. I keep showing up, but inside I'm constantly monitoring myself. It feels like I turned something that should be automatic into a problem and I can't stop thinking about it. I just want to breathe without thinking about it and feel like I'm actually here again instead of trapped in my head watching myself exist. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go over 3 things that you need to do to fix this, okay? The very first thing is I want you to spend between 15 and 30 minutes a day, and you can work your way up to that. I know right now it's very triggering, so you can start with just one breath through your diaphragm and work your way up. But I want you to get to the point where you're spending between 15 and 30 minutes a day, at least for, 2 to 4 weeks, where you're breathing through your diaphragm. And I'm going to do my best to kind of demonstrate this for you. I'm going to kind of turn to my side. This is what I do with clients, so you can kind of see this. So whenever you're doing a slow diaphragmatic breath, okay? We're going to inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, sometimes 3 seconds, just whenever you feel your diaphragm is fully expanded. Don't keep pushing if it's at 3 seconds. Some people need 4, some people need 3. Usually for me, it's like 3.5 seconds. We're going to inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, and then we're going to exhale for 7 to 8 seconds, okay? Whenever you inhale, it activates your sympathetic nervous system. And whenever you exhale, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And so this also is a really good tool just for self-regulation, just for calming yourself. But whenever you inhale, you're going to keep your shoulders straight, okay? Your shoulders should never go up if you're breathing. And if they are, if your breathing looks like this, that's a problem, okay? Because we breathe a lot every single day. And so keep your shoulders straight. You're going to arch your back just a little bit. And I used to teach something called belly breathing. I don't do that anymore. I would say keep your chest straight and don't, or still, and just let your belly go out. That's actually incorrect, okay? So for the last number of years, I've taught how to actually breathe. I mean, a belly breath's better than just a chest breath, but you're actually going to let your chest expand too. Whenever you inhale, your belly and your chest are going to fully expand, okay? And again, your back is going to arch just a little bit. So shoulders straight, and then you're going to lead with your belly, and whenever you're kind of close to that 3 or 4 second mark, your chest is going to come out a little bit, and then we're going to slowly let the belly and the chest go down for 7 to 8 seconds, and try to extend that exhale, especially even 8-9 seconds, because that's going to create a calming effect too. And so let me kind of demonstrate what this looks like, okay? And you're going to breathe in pretty rapidly through your nose, okay? I'm going to put my hands on there just so you can see what this looks like, okay? And I'm going to make a noise too so you can kind of hear it. Okay, notice how my shoulders stayed still. I'm going to do it again. Okay, there you go. And if you go to the baby ward of a hospital, you'll see the baby's bellies going up and down. They naturally do this. If you look at your dog or your cat, they naturally breathe through their diaphragm. We end up breathing through our chest because of bad posture. We're hunched over all the time. People do something called tummy tucking. Maybe you get injured and your body has to have a wrap for some reason for a long time. There's all kinds of reasons that we do this, but it's really important that you retrain your body to breathe through your diaphragm, because if you're not getting enough oxygen, it's going to make you feel lightheaded. It's going to really stress you out, okay? And so practice this 15 to 30 minutes a day. It can really, really have a profound impact on you. And you can retrain your body to breathe through your diaphragm as well. I've literally done this for many, many years now, where I naturally breathe through my diaphragm, whereas I used to be the worst chest breather, and I would, and I felt like I wasn't getting enough oxygen, things like that. So the next thing, and this was a really cool technique that I wish that I would have learned years before I had the breathe, or years before I actually fixed this. Try to hold your breath for as long as you can, okay? There's something that happens whenever you try to hold your breath and your body forces you to breathe that really helps reverse this. Because right now, if you're watching this, you believe that if you don't monitor your breathing, it's going to stop. So just try to hold your breath and force it to stop. This is also kind of the psychology behind inviting in panic. If you're having a panic attack and all the associated fears, there's something that happens in our brain whenever we intentionally face something and see that what we're afraid of doesn't happen. that our brain through neuroplasticity starts to desensitize that fear, that phobia. And so I did this. I was like, which I won't do it now because I can hold my breath for a couple minutes. But I was like, wait a second. I can't even stop my breathing if I'm trying. So me manually breathing is really not doing much of anything. And then the last thing, we already kind of went over it, but I want you to remind yourself periodically, my breathing is an automatic process. And whenever you come into your body, whenever you come to check your breathing, instead of manually breathing, just relax your body for a few seconds, just let it go limp, and then remind yourself, my breathing is an automatic process. I don't have to monitor it. And then you focus back on your life, okay? And then if you're spending 15 to 30 minutes a day doing the slow diaphragmatic breathing, you will, like, that's the only time you need to be focusing on correcting your breathing is during that 15 to 30 minutes, okay? And again, you can start with just a few breaths and work your way up to that. Outside of that, you respond to obsessing over your breathing and checking in with just relax your body for 1 to 2 seconds and then focus back on your day and remind yourself, my breathing is an automatic process. I don't have to monitor it. Okay? That's it. And this will fix this, okay? It's not going to happen overnight. I want to be very clear about that. This is something that will take time, but it's going to help you tremendously, okay? So I hope that helped you. Smash like if it did. I really need your help getting this out into the algorithm. I am a smaller channel. Need all the help that I can get. Subscribe, join this family if you're needing help rewiring your nervous system out of anxiety, panic, and especially depersonalization realization is what I specialize in, as well as existential obsession rumination. And yeah, also, if you would like to learn the 5 shifts that you need to learn to break free of anxiety, panic, and depersonalization realization, I've got a free 45-minute masterclass, first pin comment description below as well. Check that out. There's also a link to a button to apply to work with me and my team to help you break free of these symptoms in my RISE program. People are crushing these symptoms every single day. But regardless of who you work with, I hope this channel is serving as an encouragement and a support for you. That is it. And I will talk to you real soon. Thanks.